NASCAR is once again expanding its horizons in terms of the rain tires, the wet weather tires more specifically, which we will get into more detail. But first, we are going to talk about a couple of things. The first thing being, don't forget, a little bit over 48 hours from now, I will be giving my full 2024 season preview and predictions. We're going to be talking all things 2024 in NASCAR, specifically the Cup Series. I'm going to give you my 16 playoff drivers, my final four, my champion, and I have some bold predictions that will probably be wrong. But if I get one of them right, oh boy, it's you're done for. You're going to hear about it forever. But yes, we're going to talk about my predictions. I want to hear your predictions as well. So Sunday, 3:30 Eastern, get ready for that. I'm looking forward to what you guys have to say about my predictions, and I also, once again, want to hear yours. But the first thing we're going to talk about today, actually, does not have to do with that wet weather tire test. It has to do with apparel and hats. You guys know how I love hats. And in fact, you know how important my hat game is to me. So yeah, as I said, you guys know how much I love my hats. I've got all these different hats. In fact, this new deal, it's with 47. Ironically enough, I did not see any Ricky Stenhouse Jr. gear on there, and he's number 47. There might be some on there. I might have missed it. But they have struck a new deal with NASCAR. They have a bunch of new apparel. They have a new line of fashion, I guess, if you could say. They've got hoodies, t-shirts, and then, as I said, important to me, they've got hats. They've got a bunch of different drivers. They've got Ryan Blaney, the defending champion. They got Kyle Busch. They got Austin Dillon, Chase Elliott, Eric Jones, whoever it may be, and they got different styles of hats. And of course, as I said, I've already ordered one. As I said, man, I love getting new hats. I try to diversify my hat game. In terms of racing, I try to spread it out. I got a lot of, Jeff Gordon hats and stuff, but I try to spread it out. I've got that Alex Bowman hat, Tyler Reddick, William Byron, and I'll be getting a new one. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but you will soon see. I'll try to get a few new hats every year to throw into the rotation. So this is going to be the first new one of 2024. I'm excited for it. It's a good looking hat. It'll be here in a couple of weeks, so you're going to have to wait a bit to see it. But I thought that was a fun story. NASCAR making a new deal with 47 Apparel, getting some new looking trendy. I say trendy, but it's not one of those shirts that's like completely covered in a race car, I guess, respectfully, but it looks a little bit better than that. And then the hats are simple, so I like their hats. So I've never actually had one of their hats, but as I said, it looks simple. I like the look, so we'll see in a couple weeks what I think. But as for this wet weather tire test, NASCAR, over the past few years, has expanded in terms of racing in the rain. Now, obviously, racing in the rain at Texas, at Talladega, Daytona, Kansas, that's not happening. You cannot race at those high speeds on those bankings in the wet weather on a wet weather tire. That tire has not been developed yet. But as for road courses, that's a different story. Most other racing series have had wet weather tires, rain tires over the years. Formula One has their intermediate tire, which is for a light rain or a damp racetrack, and then they have their wets, which is their extreme tire for a downpour. I'm pretty sure IndyCar has wet weather tires for their road course races. Obviously, the Endurance Series, IMSA, WEC, they all have wet weather tires. But NASCAR, over the past few years, has had road course wet tires. So we have seen races in the rain at Watkins Glen, the Charlotte Roval, and of course, everyone remembers that 2021 COTA race. I was there, so I remember it well. And NASCAR has been able to race in the rain at road courses. Well, the question has been raised, can they do it at an oval? They've done a few tests. In fact, they've implemented wet weather tires at the short, flat ovals, Martinsville, Richmond, New Hampshire, tracks like that are flat, that are slow, and that you can actually run the wet weather tire at without it damaging the tires too much, without anything extreme. But at the same time, they cannot run it in a rain. So I referenced that COTA race a few years ago. We could barely run in that. In fact, we had to call the race short. When it was raining at a moderate pace, when the track was completely wet, they could race in that, okay? They had the windshield wipers, they had flaps on the back of the car, they had the wet weather tires. They could operate in that on a road course. The racing on ovals is different. They are not yet prepared for that. But let's say there's a downpour at Martinsville 15 minutes before the command to start engines, and it stops around, let's say, 5 to 10 minutes. It's a 10-minute complete downpour, soaks the racetrack. Well, NASCAR, with this wet weather tire that they are able to use at short tracks, if they can just get the standing water off the track and the track is damp, just a little bit wet, they can race on it with the wet weather tires. Now, it also affects strategies and whatnot. I think NASCAR tries to throw a caution once the track dries out a bit to give everyone a fair shot. I personally think they should just let them race, figure it out on their own. But they do have a wet weather tire for the short, flat ovals. But they do not have it for the short, big banked ovals like Bristol and Dover. Is Dover really a short track? Do we consider that a short track? But NASCAR this past week did a wet weather tire test at Bristol, the track I just referenced. It's the half mile with a bunch of speed. It's been questioned in terms of if you can use wet weather tires, but NASCAR, Goodyear have been testing it out. Not a lot of details on this, but the teams that were there were Spire, Legacy Motor Club, and RFK. There's not been a lot of pictures or videos. There's one video of Eric Jones backing out of the garage and going onto the track, and then there's this one video of the RFK car. Other than that, though, not a lot of information on this. It seems like it was a one-day test, but it was not raining in Bristol. What they did is they just sprayed the racetrack with a bunch of water. You can even see in that video of Keselowski, you can kind of see the spray coming up behind. But just like I said with Martinsville and those other short tracks, there's no wipers on the windshield. There is no rear flaps on the rear tires, so, to deflect kind of that spray. And there's no light, so the rear tail light that kind of blinks. So they cannot do anything with a heavy spray if there's, as I said, standing water on the track. But this test is to try to take a step forward. If the track was damp, if the track was just a little bit wet, that they could indeed, race on damp conditions. Once again, they cannot race in the actual rain. If it is raining, they cannot do it. They don't have the windshield wipers. But if this tire works, they would be able to, if they could get the standing water off the track, if the track was just damp, they could race on these tires. Once again, it's a step forward, but it is not a complete fix yet. So I applaud Goodyear, NASCAR for trying to get something done. These weather delays, they are very annoying, and it's like, oh man, and there's nothing you can do about it for the most part, but they are trying to take a step forward by getting wet weather tires for the short tracks and now the higher banked short tracks. And once again, you can't race it in the rain, but we're taking a step forward in terms of having it for damp conditions. So anything to take a step forward in my book is a good step. But yeah, that's it. Not a lot of news today. We talked about the new hats, new apparel with the 47. And then obviously we have been talking about the wet weather tires here. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Any other news, I will let you guys know. As I said, Sunday is the big one. We're going to be talking about 2024 NASCAR. I'm going to give you my predictions, some previews, some big storylines heading into the season. One of my favorite videos every year because in November we get to go back, look at it, and laugh at me. So thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed.